Oh my goodness, thank you. I think we might have peaked already. I just said to Nandi, who was sitting waiting with me in the office, I said, it feels a bit like going up to the dentist and or some sort of euthanasia process, you know, and I said, what if, and she said, oh no, there'll be so much metta, there'll be so much love, you know, and I said, what if there isn't, you know, I don't think I can feel it. I said, I don't think I can feel it. And then of course I came in and wow. So yeah, thank you all. So yeah, my name is Moksha Yogini, and well, a little bit about my name. When Sugati, my gorgeous friend and preceptor over here, gave me my name, she said, your name is Moksha Yogini, and I was like, I'm sorry? She said, your name is Moksha Yogini. Sorry? No, that's 5 syllables. I was sort of hoping for 3 or 2 maybe or something, you know, but I actually love the name, I love the sound of it, and then she said it means she who practices for liberation, and then I had 2 days in silence on this retreat, which is, if you those of you who are ordained will know what I'm talking about. It's serious stuff. It's very deep, it's very quiet, it's very still, and you're left alone with your mind. And so in those 48 hours, which were particularly deep and still, I had this name, translation, and nobody to speak to about it, and I wasn't Annie anymore, and I wasn't really this new name. And so the ego kind of gets a bit wild, and I started to look at it and think, she who practices for liberation. Not sure about the word practices. Doesn't sound very sexy to me, you know, like why can't she who practices for liberation? And then I noticed my sort of not good enough voice coming up and thinking, you know, why can't I be just liberation? Or she who dwells in liberation, or delights in liberation, or dances in liberation, you know, rather than practices. And poor Sugati. So then, you know, I took this to Sugati as though there was a negotiation, which of course there isn't. It's your name. You know? So 48 hours later, poor Sugati had to listen to me, you know, saying, but it's the word practices, you know, like I'm ashamed because I've got to practice. Whereas all of you are already liberated, I imagine. You know? So, and then I got a brief moment. I went out and stood by the yellow tree, and I just got this idea of like, I've always wanted to dedicate my life to one thing. I'm a bit of a sort of, I'll do some of this and some of this and some of this. And I thought, wow, I felt for a moment like a flautist or a pianist would be, obviously, who's only got to do one thing. How lovely, you know, so I can wake up in the morning and it's like I can go on TikTok, or, you know, Tuesday rainy October morning, or I can nip down to Uniqlo and get that nice merino wool top, or I can practice for liberation. Put like that, it's quite good, isn't it? So I gave Sugati a hard time about it. I had all these views, and then I went to bed, and as soon as I went to bed, because we were in this kind of diaphanous sort of space, I just saw these views, how they were just kind of like little unreal ribbons blocking the way from me actually opening to this wonderful experience of gorgeousness of Sugati and everybody else that is actually life if we can let go of these views, of these clingings, of these thoughts and stories. So I got up the next morning and I was so excited, and I went down to the kitchen. I said, Sugati, I'm so sorry, I see it. She said, come in the cupboard. And we went in the cupboard, and I said, I'm so sorry, it was just views. And she said, you see, you've practiced for liberation, you know. But it looked like she was talking to herself, because the cupboard was kind of like, you could only see this bit. But, anyway, so, and actually, if she'd said my name meant like I could do one-hand cartwheels throughout space and time, I would have still thought, why do I need one arm? Why can't I be without any arms or something? You know. So I was aware that was my old story of not being good enough coming up. Anyway, so my brief I saw on the flyer is to say a little bit about what it means to be in the Triratna Buddhist Order. And then I saw on the flyer, or another flyer, that it means to, I should have thought of this first, shouldn't I, before joining, perhaps, but it means to give my life to the Buddhist path for the sake of all living beings. It's like, is that all? And it sounds like, wow, what a thing to do. How do you do that? You know, how can we do that? So, Sangharakshita, who started this movement, for those of you who don't know, he said compassion is much more than an emotion. It is what springs up in the emptiness that is when you are not there. I love that. I definitely, during this recent retreat, had some strong experiences of that. And it had a colour. It was pink. It was pink, like it was kind of this pink. In my meditation, it was just this pink, and it was just unconditional compassion. These are Tara's earrings, in case you're wondering. And what I do know, I may not know what it means to be in the Triratna Buddhist Order yet, but I do have a sense of what it means to entering that space where you yourself are not, where myself is not, and how wonderful that is, and how I trust completely every decision that I make, or that is made, because it's not me making it, from that space, because it is so based in compassion. And that gives a lovely confidence. But it's not always that easy to for that experience to spring up, because I have to get myself out of the way. And I don't know about your efforts to do that, but perhaps I'm assuming that a lot of people here it's been easier for than me, but I haven't found it as easy as just kind of like scootling along a bit out of the way. I guess there's a process of a series of surrenders, and a hell of a lot more surrendering to happen. But surrender sounds like such a nice word, doesn't it? It sounds like quite gorgeous. You just kind of lie back in a jasmine pearl bath or something, and filled with asses milk or soy milk, or and you just kind of like let go into this wonderful other, you and other, beyond each other space. Has that been anyone's experience? Surrendering, going beyond self to other. Yeah. No, not mine either. Mine's been more like a bit of a food processor, I would say. Like that's a bit of a violent image, isn't it? But where's Padmasambhava? Is that him there? Okay. Yeah, it's a bit more of a refined image, Padmasambhava. But basically, I feel like through the years, what I've done is had to really know myself before I can know myself and know the suffering before I can choose to be in this compassionate space. Try everything else that doesn't work first, and the pain of that before choosing to put myself in the conditions where I'm going to experience this compassion. So in the food blender, meditation for me has been the most transformative thing. And it may seem like on the outside, just sitting quietly like this, but actually on the inside, that food blender is on, and there's all the bits of me, my anger, my tendency to blame, my ability to argue even with myself, all my gristle and bone and sinew just all goes in there, and I press XXX, and on a good day it comes out as a smoothie, a bit smoother. And this geezer here, Padmasambhava, he helps me with that. Depending on what you want to believe, he was either a real person who existed around the 8th century and was hugely responsible for taking Buddhism into Tibet. And when he got there were real demons, and he managed to transform them into kind energy. Or you can think of it as, the myth version is that he was born 8 years old on a red lotus in a lake. Interestingly, he was the colour of pink, like my earrings too. And what I like to think of is that he's representing the deep unconscious that I can access through meditation, and it brings up my demons. It brings up my demons, and he transforms them into kindness. So that I'm only having to press the X button rather than the triple X button these days on my food processor. Yeah. So I'm lucky enough to have had not one but two, I was going to say food processes, ordination processes. I'd love to say, actually, I'd love to just stand here and say, yep, I asked for ordination last year and I'm ordained a year later. And that's actually the truth, which sounds great, and I could leave it at that. And it was a wonderful process. And I had a great cooler. Thank you to Sugati, Pranya Devi, Sarika. These people are watching at home, some of them. Nagarachita, who's not well enough to be here. I'm sorry, Nagarachita. And Kusasara. Is that everyone? Sugati? Yeah, okay. And it was incredibly smooth, loving, beautiful process. But I was very close to ordination once before, 9.5 years ago, 2015, after living in a community for, 7-8 years. I was in love with everyone, the world, and something happened, a kind of interpersonal, euphemisms abound, an interpersonal sort of situation that was painful happened, and it kind of, there was, without, despite much effort to heal, to work with it wasn't, didn't seem possible, and I ended up being, experiencing a bit of trauma and a lot of blame. Quite a dark time actually, because blame is, it's a great defence if you need it, and I don't know about your families and your childhoods, but I kind of needed it. But it's a protection from feeling the pain of actually what is, and the truth is I was kind of hurt and actually a bit heartbroken, and I didn't want to be in the Triratna Buddhist Order, and I wasn't much fun to be around at the time. Sort of angry and blamey, and I couldn't take being in touch with people here, so I gradually kind of let go of friendships, some smoothly, some not so smoothly, and I kind of moved away geographically and, in every way. I had a lovely, I went off, I did an MA in playwriting, which I absolutely loved. But after that, I was kind of left with this pain again, and I knew I had to address it. So I decided I'd walk away completely, because I still had 4 really, really resilient order member friends and so I told them, look, I can't even be friends with you. And I sort of went forth from the Triratna Buddhist Order completely. And I started seeing Lama Shenpen in the Awakened Heart Sangha in Wales instead. And I just had to disentangle, and I told Lama Shenpen, I just need to disentangle the Dharma a bit from my emotions, and I need to heal my heart with you so that I can go back and heal it elsewhere. I kind of knew that even then, even though I was saying I didn't want anything to do with the order. I kind of knew that if I'm going to heal, I have to heal it with the people where it's broken. So after about a year, I went to Vajraloka, a place that if you haven't been is absolutely gorgeous, and I recommend it. I went there and I was walking along one day after crying to Paramananda and crying to Tejananda and crying to Ujjimitra, and because the pain would come up again every time I went on retreat. And I just suddenly saw myself. I saw this kind of victim persona that I'd got into around this. And this story, it was the most beautiful October day. I went out for a walk and the sky was clear and the trees were crimson, and I was walking, and what was going around my head was this story about what had happened, and like on a seamless replay. And I suddenly saw, hang on a minute, how can this be the truth? I'm here in this gorgeous day. If this is that true, like, why can't I even stop it for a second to walk outside it, to enjoy this space? And I think I kind of saw through. I realised that it was stopping me experience the life that is, that blame was stopping me experiencing the life that is, and maybe experiencing the pain that I needed to experience. So next time I was at Vajraloka, I wanted to go and live there. They were advertising for people. This was last year, and I still didn't want to get ordained. I decided to come back. I moved back to London, and I started to get in touch. And I can honestly say that every single friend I got in touch with was so lovely and accepting back of me. But I didn't want to get ordained. That was a sort of surrender too far. And then at Vajraloka, I just had such energy for helping there. Like, they needed people, and I wanted the centre to flourish so much. I really wanted to help. I was like cleaning the loos and painting the loos, didn't know what I was doing. But it was with real energy for the good. And then Ujjimitra said to me, you could come here and live, but you could come here for a year. That's okay, but any longer you'd have to be ordained. And I was like, oh, gosh, damn. And then I realised that my desire to help people, to serve somehow, I was going to be like housekeeper, cleaning mostly there, or maybe organising or whatever. That was so great that it was worth the surrender. And so I came back and I told Sugati I'd actually want to be ordained. Didn't end up going to Vajraloka for various reasons. But once I said I wanted to be ordained, it's like surrender so hard until you make the decision to do it, and then it's really easy. Just letting go of sort of pride. And I came back, and that was that really. And I feel like I healed my heart, and I'm so glad that I did. Yeah, and I feel very blessed to have so many friends in this community. And my wonderful community, Sudhajaya, Vimokshani and Natalie, and our beautiful cat who can't be here because she's sleeping. So thank you to all of you for being here tonight, and my name is Moksha Yogini.